Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas. This is how to create a survival horror game in Unity, and welcome to episode 27. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at building a new scene to carry on our game after the jump scare that occurs through this door. We'll also look at the fade out screen, and we'll also look at changing the scene manually. Don't forget, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial still to come in this series, and indeed everything else about game development on my channel. With that in mind, let's get to work. So one thing I would like to highlight is just how easy it is to kind of change assets between each scene, and it's something that's going to be done over the next couple of tutorials quite well. We do already have a fading out object, so if we go to our main menu, for instance, and if we press play, remember we get to this point, and when we press the new game button, we actually use the fade out there. So we're going to take that fade out from the canvas right there, and I'm going to copy that, and we're going to take it to our scene 001, and I'm going to paste it into there and just drag it into the canvas and make sure that it is at the bottom. So that fade out is going to be what we play in our scene. So for example, if I turn it on now up here and press play, we should be able to see that it does indeed fade out. So we don't need to deal with the animation specifically in code. We just need to turn this on. That's all we're going to do for the fading out. So we almost have this scene ready. What we need to do is start building the second scene. I'm going to briefly create a second scene with a couple of different things in. So let's save that scene. And let's go to File, New Scene, and File, Save As. And I am just going to call this Scene 002. And while we're at it, we may as well go to File, Build Settings, and then add Open Scenes. So Scene 2 is now number 5. So we just need to remember that. So we have a new scene. This is going to be like a kind of maybe a mansion kind of area. So let's quickly create something which is kind of cool. So game object, 3D object, cube. Let's zero out so it's in the middle of our screen. Scale, let's say 10 by 10. Zoom in. So this is going to be the floor. Now what I'd like the floor to be is, remember that main menu? So that main menu, I kind of want the feeling of being set in this section of the game. So we kind of replicate what we're doing there. So let's go to textures, and let's just apply that texture onto there. How is our... In fact, do you know what we'll do? Let's play around with materials as well. So let's take that tile floor material, hold Control, press D to duplicate, and let's drag that duplication onto there. But now let's set the tiling as, should we do 5 by 5? Okay, that's not too bad. Maybe a little bit small, but we'll see how it pans out. We'll see how it pans out. I may change the size of this to be 20 by 20. So we've got a wide area to cover. It's just the floor, really. So I'm going to hold Control, press D to duplicate, turn this into a wall. Let's have that as maybe 10 high, 1 thin. And yeah, we'll keep it like that. So let's drag and drop the wallpaper onto there. Drag it backwards. See how it looks. Let's have that as 10 as well. Still not wholly convinced, as it looks a little bit high. So let's have this as 5 by 5. And I think that should work just fine now. So much in the same way as we did with our intro scene, this is just something which we're throwing together quite nicely. And it doesn't necessarily have to be overly complicated, because it's something that we are going to build upon as we go through the development of this game. You'll see what I mean soon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand this to 5 by 5 by 5, so it looks like an actual corner. I'm going to expand this, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Anything that you see outside of what the camera cannot see doesn't matter to whether it's messy or not. So let's do that and then get rid of that. And there's like a passageway for us to go through. So already you can see that this area is becoming a little bit more, shall we say, active. There's a bit more to this now. So let's build up this section here and then we'll look at adding a door in. Real simple. So I always like to kind of build my worlds in this manner, just because I feel there's much more you can add to a game once you've got the basics of it all set up. And so far, yes, it doesn't look fantastic, but that's because of how we are portraying all of this. So I'm going to add a door in. So door. In fact, I cannot. Is it this one? I think it is that door that is on in the other scene, isn't it? So let's increase the size. 20, 20, 20. Too big. 10, 10. 10, that's better. 90. And let's have this door just aligned with the wall to about there. So this door will never function at all. However, it's meant to give the impression that it's led from the area behind it. So now I'm going to bring in a couple of assets just to kind of build this scene up a little bit. So I'm going to go to my objects folder. I'm going to right click, create folder. I'm going to call this mansion objects. So anything that we deal with this section of the game is going to be contained within this folder. A couple of assets that I'm bringing in here. You can get these on the website. If you head over there, go to downloads and assets, go to the survival horror series, tutorial number 27, you can get an armchair, fireplace, and a wooden table. Now, it's up to you how you want to deal with this exactly. It's your game after all. You don't necessarily have to use all of these assets, but I'm just going to bring in a couple of these assets. 3 by 3 by 3. Let's rotate. See how it looks. It's just a chair. That's all it is. Nothing important. But you can see the process of what I'm doing here is creating an environment. And creating environments take time. You've always got to be mindful of that. You always have to be mindful. So let's bring in this fireplace. In fact, I'm going to add in a light because I can't see here properly. Light, let's have a point light. Let's bring it up to here so we can see. And let's set the render mode to important. And just illuminate this area a little bit more. Okay, so now we can see a little bit better. So fireplace, let's bring it in. It's quite large. Let's decrease it. 0.01, 0.01, 0.01. Too small. Let's increase it to 5, 5, and 5. Still probably too small because I said 5, not 2. So 04, 04, and 04. Let's bring it down to here, to there, and we'll probably get some flames going, roaring with that at some point. So like I say, I'm just kind of glossing through a lot of this real quick just because I want to get to the point of showing you how we're going to do a lot of the mechanics here. So there's a table, 5, 5, 5, still too small, 10, 10, 10. Let's rotate by 90 degrees so we have a nice table right by the door. In fact, do you know what? Let's have it here. It'll make more sense. And we'll have like a candle on this table or something next tutorial or tutorial after, just to give it a bit more ambience. Let's also add a collider to it so we can't walk into the table. Probably decrease the size because it's quite big. Still quite big. Let's decrease again. And that should probably just about do the trick. Let's change on the X a little bit more. There we go. And you can also change where the actual, if I can get it just right, 05, 6, 7, 8. There we go. So there is the collider on the table, perfectly done. So now we have a very simple room, which we're really going to make look cool later on. So now let's get to the cool bit where we can actually come to this scene when we go through the door in the other scene. So let's save that there. But we need to bring our player in. So let's quickly go back to scene 1. Let's take our FPS controller, copy, go back to scene 2, paste, and bring the controller into the playable position, which is going to be just as we come through the door. So round about there. So if I press play now, we're able to see, yes, I know it looks crazy. That is basically because we have the post-processing on. And obviously things are just a little bit too large. But again, that's something that we are going to change. This is just the basic setup for what we need. So, save the scene, head back to scene 1. And now let's focus on the door, or the task at hand. So let's light up this little bit of the corridor. So let's take this light right here, this torch, hold control, press D, move it over into position, just so we can actually see when we go down here more than anything, to be honest. Let's have that there. Okay. Probably should block this up here with something, I guess. Probably just stick a cube there. Again, it doesn't really matter. You'll have taken the time to design at this point, and you won't have gaps in your... Well, I'm hoping you guys won't have gaps in your scenes. If you've not taken the time to do so, now would be a perfect time to do so. And that should probably do right about there. And I'm just going to quickly add rock texture to it. There we go. That'll do the trick. So we have over here in this door, if I can find it, the trigger which allows us to open it. This one, door trigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this door trigger, hold control, press D to duplicate, and uncouple it out of that prefab. Place it just there. And move back over to this door. And this is a great example of being able to take assets, reuse them for different ways. So I'm going to rotate on the Y because it is in a different angle, this door. Bring it into position, which is going to be about there. Does that look okay? Just move into place a little bit more. That should do the trick. Now, what we need to do is we need to make a modified version of this door cell open script. So if we go to it, click here, it'll highlight it yellow in your asset window. Hold control, press D to duplicate. And I'm going to rename this to be cell exit door. And let's open that up in Visual Studio. So because we've changed the script name, we need to change it in the class name in here. So let's do that first and foremost. So it's cell exit door. Cell exit door. And everything should... Let me save that script. Well, I say everything should resolve itself, but it doesn't want to right now. Let's clear all these errors, and there we go. That should do it. So although it's still highlighted, I'm not convinced. So I'm going to close it and reopen it. Still doesn't like it, but that's not to worry. Let's just press play and make sure everything does still work. So yeah, it's deciding to be a little bit silly. So what we're going to do is we'll say public float distance is fine. Public game object action display is fine. The door we don't actually need, so that can go. Creak sound can go. Extra cross, we're going to rename that to fade out. Now, we also need using Unity engine dot what should we call it? What's it called? Oh, I know, scene management. Of course, because we're changing scenes. So as we go down, we don't need to play the animation. We don't need to play the creak sound. Void on mouse exit still needs to exist. What we're going to do is create a coroutine. And this coroutine is going to allow us to control time while we fade out. So I, a numerator, and we'll call it fade to exit, open close bracket, open curly bracket. And we're just going to say yield return new wait for seconds, and in brackets we'll wait for I think it's 3 seconds. We'll say 3 for now, and then after that we will say scene manager dot load scene 5 semicolon, which means at this point we need to set the fade out on. So fade out dot set active true semicolon, and then we also need to say start coroutine fade to exit, open close bracket semicolon, and save. Now what we need to do is head back into Unity, wait for that to come. Okay, extra cross. So we just need to remove a couple of variables. So extra cross does need to exist, doesn't it? Extra cross does need to exist because that is, yep, that's my fault. Basically, all that was is the extra crosshairs that we see. Of course, I'd forgotten about that one. So, right, let's head back to Unity, wait for it to compile. That's all good. So now let's attach that script onto our new door trigger, which is this one. And we'll call this exit trigger. So cell exit door onto there. We need to set action key. And then we need to set action text. Extra cross is the extra cross. Fade out is our fade out right there. And then we can remove the original door cell open script. Save the scene. And let's press play and try this whole thing out.
Oh, where am I? I need to get out of here.
So we should be able to go through here as usual.
Looks like there's a weapon on that table.
There is. So let's pick up that weapon, get the ammo, end the cutscene, the jump scare, and then so it still says pick up pistol, but that's something that we can change because we need to change it in our scene. But either way, that should now say open door. And there we go. We've manually changed our scene. Now, I'm actually moving my mouse up and down. This is a classic bug in Unity. We can only look side to side. So let's resolve that and let's get our door to actually say the right thing before we end this tutorial. Honestly, I'm not sure why this is all highlighting as incorrect, because no other script is doing so. That's very strange. That is very strange. What if I close Visual Studio and reopen it? How very odd. Let's see what it does now. Okay, there we go. Yeah, very bizarre. Oh, still doing it. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with the script, but if you guys know why, let me know in the comments. So what we need to do is void on mouse over. Let's add in a line at the very top to say action text dot get component text open close bracket dot text equals open door semicolon save. So that should now say open door when we go through this door. And finally, let's adjust that final bug which was in the other scene. So let's go to scene 2 and delete the main camera. So the reason that happens, the main camera seems to weirdly restrict your vertical movement up and down. Only gives you lateral movement side to side on your camera. So I'm not quite sure why that happens, but it's just a bug. If it happens to you, delete the main camera. So guys, next tutorial, we're going to look at a little bit more detailed environment design. So we're going to have little things in there, try and make that place feel a little bit more lived in, if that makes sense. Bring over some more player stuff like attributes and mechanics, and we may start looking at actually implementing a puzzle. So until that next tutorial, guys, thank you very much for watching.